From abundance he took abundance, and still abundance remain. Be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly on the earth and multiply therein. Genesis 9:7. The subject of increase is the mandate of God for every living creature. It is the purpose of life, the essence of living. Every living creature is created with an insatiable urge for increase. We all have an inherent urge prompting us to develop, to do better, to be more and to have more. It is the reason why a seed cannot wait to be planted before it begins to grow. It is the reason a child cannot wait to be born before it begins a rapid physiological development. A man who is satisfied with what he has already done has reached his culminating point, he will make no more progress. Man's destiny is to be forever striving to do better today than was done yesterday. He is to be grateful for what he already has but never to be satisfied. That is the only path to a lifetime of happiness and fulfillment. The divine urge for increase is the most curious and the most interesting thing in human life. It exists in every normal human being, and is just as pronounced and as real as the instinct of self-preservation. I sincerely believe this incessant inward urge to develop and become more, this something which pushes men to their goal, is the expression in man of the omnipotent God. It is a part of the great cosmic plan of creation. We do not create this urge, we do not manufacture it. Every normal person feels this internal urge which is ever pushing us, even at the cost of our discomfort. This internal urge to increase and become more is a part of every atom. It is in the instinct of the bee, the ant, and in all forms of insect and animals. The same kind of urge that is in the seed buried out of sight and which is ever pushing it up and out through the soil, urging it to develop itself to the fullest and to give its beauty and fragrance to the world, is in each one of us. It is ever pushing us, urging us to fuller and complete expression, to a larger, more beautiful life until we come into the realization of the life expected of the sons and daughters of the supreme intelligence we call God. This divine urge within pushes us out of our mediocrity and slumbering position into the forefront of the battles of life until all obstacles are crushed and victory is ascertained. It is this divine urge which makes man struggle with destiny in order to make his current situation better. Without this inherent force, man is perhaps not better than beast of burden, existing only to be driven from one place to another. This inherent force is heaven's own incentive to make life meaningful, purpose great, and achievement greater. Without it our lives will be boring with nothing to look forward to. Therefore, riches and wealth are your divine birthrights. To live in scarcity is never the intention of God for his creations. Hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name, said Jesus, ask that your joy might be full. It is very doubtful if your joy can be full when you lack the basest necessity of life. To multiply is to increase greatly in number or quantity. The object of all life is increase, and every man that lives has an unchallengeable right to increase in all areas of life, especially in the area of finance, if he is to fulfill his purpose and destiny. Whatever may be said in praise of poverty, says Wallace D. Wattles, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a complete or successful life unless one is rich. No man can rise to his greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money, for to unfold the soul and to develop talent he must have many things to use, and he cannot have these things unless he has money to buy them. This is not a question of whether you wish to become a millionaire or not, the point is, you and I require a significant amount of money to live a complete and balanced life. We require a significant amount of money to give our children and loved ones the kind of lives they deserve. We also require a significant amount of money to fulfill our social responsibilities in the community, and we should not shy away from these responsibilities because of poverty. If you have taken time to study the life of Jesus, you will undoubtedly be aware his life was characterized with increase, abundance, and he demonstrated this lifestyle everywhere he went. He demonstrated to us that we could literally take the little we have and through the application of the principle of multiplication, turn the little into abundance. Take a look at the following account for instance. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past, send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages, and buy themselves victuals, food. But Jesus said unto them, They need not depart, give ye them to eat. And they say unto him, We have here but 5 loaves, and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves, and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed, and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled, and they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children, Matthew 14. The account given above by Matthew recorded that Jesus fed 5,000 men with the exclusion of women and children. Many Bible scholars believe the actual number fed that day could have been between 15,000 and 20,000 people if women and children were taken into account. Notice, Jesus did not just feed the multitude with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. After feeding them to their satisfaction, there were 12 baskets left over. What was Jesus demonstrating to us? What is the significance of the 12 baskets left over? God does not want you and I to have just enough. He wants you and I to have more than enough. Literally, when do you think of having a leftover? Only after you have eaten to your satisfaction. When do you think of having some savings in the bank? Only after you have met your primary obligations. How can you have savings in the bank if your income is not even enough to pay your bills? How can you have leftover in the fridge if the meager you have is not enough to feed your children? Jesus demonstrated here that you don't need to have just enough what you need. You need to have more than enough. More than you personally need. It is only by having more than you personally need that you can be a source of blessing to others around you as far as financial blessing is concerned, because you cannot give what you don't have. The law of multiplication could be seen displayed by Jesus in the account given above in the book of Matthew, where he fed 5,000 men with the exclusion of women and children. This law could be summarized in the following 3 simple steps. 1. Start with the little you have. 2. Invest the little into a particular service or product. 3. Distribute, sell or market the service or product to as many people as possible. The above 3 steps can be stated in a different way for easy understanding. 1. Identify your gift. That may be the little you have at the moment. Each one of us has a unique gift given to us, and we can identify this if we look deep enough. 2. Think of several ways through which you can add values to the life of others with your gift. It is important for you to understand that your gift is given to you to benefit others, and there are many services out there which are in harmony with your gift. Your assignment is to identify the services which are compatible or in agreement with your gift. Once you identify this, you can package or repackage the service in such a way that it will add value to other people. 3. You then distribute or sell the value-added service or product unto as many people as possible. Tony Robbins, the best-selling author of Awaken the Giant Within, was very right when he said, "Money is nothing more than a reflection of your creativity, your capacity to focus, and your ability to add value and receive back. If you can find a way to create value, that is, add value for a massive number of people, you will have an opportunity to have a massive amount of economic abundance in your life." As we put the above 3 steps into practice with the attitude of faith and thanksgiving, the same law that turns a tiny acorn into a mighty oak will bring about results in hundreds, thousands, millions, depending on the quality and usefulness of the value we are able to create. Now, one more thing. The little you currently have does not necessarily have to be money, as many people seem to believe. It could be a skill, a talent or ability to do something which others find difficult to do. No one is kept in poverty because there is a shortness in the source of supply. There is more than enough for everyone. The visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and the invisible supply can never be exhausted. Everything created is made from one God, the creative intelligence, out of which all things proceed. No one is poor because God is poor or because there is not enough to go round. God is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. The supply will never run short. God is alive with creative energy and is constantly producing more things in different forms. When the supply of resources needed for life advancement seem to have been exhausted, more will be produced by God. When oil has been completely exhausted from one part of the universe, if man is still in such a stage of social development that he needs oil as source of energy, more will be produced by the creative intelligence in other parts of the world. God responds to the needs of men. It will never let them be without any good thing. But men and women must learn how to make the creative intelligence do their biddings, if they are to partake of the abundance he has to offer. In the book of 2 King, the Bible gives an account which perfectly illustrates the fact that the source of supply can never be exhausted as long as there is an earthly demand. Here is the story. Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant my husband is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. And Elisha said unto her, What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in the house? And she said, Thine handmaid hath not anything in the house, save a pot of oil. Then he said, Go, Borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels, borrow not a few. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out into all those vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. So she went from him, and shut the door upon her and upon her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass, when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, There is not a vessel more. And the oil stayed. 2 Kings 4:1. You can see from the above record that the source of supply will never run dry when there is an earthly demand to meet. The oil will continue to flow as long as there are more vessels to be filled. How many vessels the widow in the above story borrowed, I have no way of knowing. Perhaps she borrowed 5, 10, 20, 30 or 50 vessels. But one thing I am sure of is that, if she had borrowed 500, 1,000 or even 5,000 vessels, all would have been filled. Don't be stingy with God, demand much, aim high, there is much in the universe. The storehouse can never be exhausted. Many people believe it is not wrong to die like Lazarus. Of course, there might be nothing wrong in that, but I seriously believe there is nothing nobler than to die like Abraham or David. I believe we should all die leaving inheritance for our children. Not leaving them with mountains of debt to pay while we are gone. The wise King Solomon said in the book of Proverbs, A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Proverbs 13:22. Your assignment in getting rich. For you to be rich, you also need to do your own part. Throughout this week, go into a quiet place and meditate on the content of this video. Do it in the morning, at night and several times during the day. During this moment of quiet meditation, think of everything the Lord has created. You will see He created them all in abundance. The water, the air, the sand, even the population of the world is currently estimated as over 7 billion. The more you practice this exercise, the more you will be convinced the world is full of abundance and there is no need for you and I to be poor. From abundance He took abundance, and still abundance remain. Be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly on the earth and multiply therein. Genesis 9:7. The subject of increase is the mandate of God for every living creature. It is the purpose of life, the essence of living. Every living creature is created with an insatiable urge for increase. We all have an inherent urge prompting us to develop, to do better, to be more and to have more. It is the reason why a seed cannot wait to be planted before it begins to grow. It is the reason a child cannot wait to be born before it begins a rapid physiological development. A man who is satisfied with what he has already done has reached his culminating point, he will make no more progress. Man's destiny is to be forever striving to do better today than was done yesterday. He is to be grateful for what he already has but never to be satisfied. That is the only path to a lifetime of happiness and fulfillment. The divine